Hello there. Thank you for joining my podcast, Thoughtcast. I have to say, for me, this is the first episode. The other one was more like a test for me, so now I feel like I know better what I want this to be. I want it to be something natural and easy. I want it to be responsive and maybe a little random. Like, for instance, right now, I'm in the forest. And you'll probably think right now, what is this crazy person doing? Going into the forest, sitting on the floor, speaking into a microphone. And you're kind of right. But this is just an example of me and how I want to do this podcast. So yeah, I want to welcome you to the first episode of my Thoughtcast. I am a designer wandering around and thinking. I like to think about stuff, and in this episode, I'm thinking about what does it mean to be well? What is well-being? You don't even have to go far to come to the conclusion that being well means totally different things to totally different people. We humans, we all grow up in circumstances. Some are better, and a lot are very bad. And it seems to be that the standards of how one defines well-being sets itself with the environment we grow up and live in. For me, well-being has a lot to do with self-fulfillment and freedom over my life choices and my lifestyle. I'm really grateful to live in a place like Switzerland because a lot of other countries on this planet really don't have this kind of freedom at this level of life quality. And you see, growing up in such a country gives the people who live and grow up in it a lot of opportunities for excessive well-being, but also for spoiling. And still we see people in Switzerland with one of the highest rates of burnout syndrome. As I said, I am really proud of the circumstances here, and as I said, I'm really proud of the circumstances here, but in a country like this, there are also a lot of unspoken rules to follow. We all know that money isn't everything in life. And yes, you get paid well in Switzerland, which is great. But everything here is really expensive. The thing is, when you're smart, you can grow your account really, really fast. But the rough downside to it, you have to be really, really productive as well. It is a society based on performance. And still, it's great to live here in contrast to other countries like China, for instance. This is heaven. There's a lot of pressure of society and to have a good life. And it's also part of how a lot of people of my generation grew up. For instance, in houses with the family. But now we can't afford the same things because life got more expensive and there are more people. The last thing I want to do here is to blame Switzerland how hard they are. You know, it's nice here, it's a good place to be. Of course, for us, just thinking of living in a slum somewhere in India or Africa is just a horrifying thought. And the people there live with it each and every day. They live in their own dirt. They can't even feed their families. They don't have any clean water or good education. And they're living as close to death as you can probably get. So yes, we do have a really good life here. And that's probably exactly why we're so spoiled like that. We grew up in this materialistic world. And we got used to it. We got used to it to a very, very deep level. To a level where we identify with it. Growing up in a nearly perfect setup like this, with nature and cities and education, supply and energy, in the end, it just leaves us with ourselves. Kind of like, what should I do now with my life? We have everything we need, right? And all the poor people around the world, they would die for even the simplest job here. But we here, we want more. We just can't get enough. It's just burned into our heads, and we think we are so important. And don't get me wrong, to be happy, you have to give yourself some importance. You have to watch out for yourself. You have to clean yourself. You have to challenge yourself when you want to learn things. It's just that in this society, we feel like being stuck so quickly. In a way, this society is addicting. And the people who don't know anything else, they get hooked up on it from the very beginning. And it's no one's fault either. The people with families who get children hopefully do it because they can give them a good life and because they can afford it. It's just the most natural thing to do in a human, to crave for more. And something that I actually said a lot some time ago, for me, it doesn't matter if everything stays the same. If I find myself under the bridge tomorrow, or imagine every other crazy dark or good situation, even if there's a war happening, it doesn't care in what situation of all of them I'm in. The one thing I know for sure is that I want to optimize my life in each and every one of those cases. When I'm under the bridge, I will build myself a shelter. When there's a war happening, I'll do my best to live through it as good as I can. If there's a pandemic happening, in which, by the way, I feel very safe here in Switzerland, I will try to make the best of it. This thought just came out of trying to get the most positive out of a situation and be optimistic. But in this context, for me, it just shows again that our needs and our desires just depend on our environment. And luckily in the Western world, as I got to know it, we really do have a lot of choices in our life. We can choose what people we want around us. We can choose how to spend our afternoons. We can choose if we want to educate ourselves. And we can choose if we want to travel. We just have so many things we can choose from. And you have to work for it. But in the end, the decision is yours. The problem is the more you get, the more is to choose from. You definitely get more freedom, but you'll only get the kind of freedom a lot of us know in the Western world. But it is not a shame and there's no one to blame. It's just the way we grew up. And there is nothing wrong and no one to blame for anything. Because well-being means something different to all of us. Well-being can be a choice. And it's our choice to make. So, I'd say, let's get well. See you.